Dr Reena here. I'm a global dental specialist and founder of RW Perio, located at 75 Harley Street. Welcome to Season 3 of my podcast, Life and Smile, where we talk about everything dental, lifestyle, business, and much more. Every episode, I'm joining conversation with a specialist expert in their chosen field, who gives us a behind-the-scenes glimpse into their daily regime, career turning points, and an insider look at what they can't live without. As a businesswoman myself, it's so inspiring to hear how people have built their careers and shattered those glass ceilings. This third season is sponsored by Colgate. Committed to sustainability, they're obviously a household name, and as a dental expert, they are my personal fail-safe go-to to ensure my smile is always looking and feeling its healthiest. So, let's get the conversation going. Today, I'm joined by a true household name that surely needs no introduction. As one of the UK's best-known pop vocal coaches, Carrie Grant is a BAFTA award-winning broadcaster, vocal coach, leadership coach, and campaigner. With a TV and music career that has spanned over 35 years together with her husband David, she is renowned for working with some of the most leading artists in the world, including Gwyneth Paltrow, the Spice Girls, Take That, Will Young, and Charlotte Church. Her TV and radio work includes being a reporter for BBC One's The One Show and host with David the Saturday Breakfast Show on BBC Radio London. Many of you will also recognise her from being a judge and coach on the likes of BBC One's Fame Academy, ITV's Pop Idol, Gospel Choir of the Year, Teenstar and Open Mic, just to name a few. Carrie, welcome to Life and Smile.
It's great to be here.
You have successfully established your reputation and are a renowned figure of authority across the music and media industry. In 2018, you were awarded an honorary doctorate of arts from the University of Bedfordshire, and in 2020, an MBE for services to music, media, and charity. So what prompted you to start your career within your industry? Take us back to where it all began.
Oh my gosh, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because I do think with many jobs in the world, why we enter the industry, the motivation for why we enter becomes and evolves and becomes something else as we grow and get older and grow a bit of wisdom, hopefully. So why I came into my industry, which was I came in as a dancer at the age of 16. My first job was as a dancer on a program called Top of the Pops, which was huge at the time in the 80s. And I think I just wanted to be known at that point. And it's funny because now I would call it, I just wanted to be known. I wanted my voice to be heard and blah, blah, blah. And that sounds very worthy. But I think it was a bit more base than that. I think I just wanted to be famous.
Right.
Because I don't think I felt very heard. And fame felt like a really good way to kind of get that currency going. Hey, I get lots of approval if I go on a stage. And I don't really have to give very much. I just have to sing and dance a bit. And people tell me I'm good. And then I feel good about myself. And so that exchange really worked for me. And there is something about artists that, you know, we are the people that, I don't know what it was like for you. Did you grow up looking in people's mouths? I'm sure you didn't. I'm sure you did something else when you were little. Whereas I grew up singing and dancing, and I'm 57 and I'm still singing and dancing. So you do this thing and someone pays you for it. So in a way, why I came into the industry, the motivations I came with were very different. And I think I began to realize quite soon on that this really wasn't going to meet my needs. And so I started to evolve probably in my 20s and think about, why am I doing what I'm doing? And one of the things I've always loved to do, and you know, we all have things that are real challenges for us, and we all have things that are real gifts. And I would say one of my gifts or my desires is to pull other people into the industry.
Right.
So I'm basically just an usher. I'm a door opener, and that's what I love doing. So part of my work very quickly became, if you're booking me on a session and we need 2 other people, let me bring in my super amazing professional friend and my friend who's a really good singer who's never worked in the industry before, and let's put that person with us too who are experienced, and let's bring them in on a few sessions and so on and so forth. And so I think things evolved over the years into something else. It's morphed into something so much bigger.
Amazing. And I guess, yeah, you're right. As you go through your career, your interests change, but you're just tweaking what you want to do for the next step. And I don't think you can know when you're like 15 what you want to do when you're like 50. It's really difficult. But so I guess you always had a passion for dancing, singing, that whole industry? Has that always been like inbuilt in you, or how is it kind of, is it something that you just naturally go towards?
If I hear music, I want to move. It's just my body wants to do that. So I guess that's from really young. And I look at, I've got 4 children, and I look at particularly one of my children, I think Thailand was beatboxing at about 4 months.
Wow.
I mean, I can't even do it. Like, how are you doing that? How are you beatboxing at this age? And it's always had like incredible rhythm. So I think those things are innately in us, the creative gift. But some of us rely on them. And I really relied. I think my love of dance and singing and so on got me through my childhood. Right. Childhood wasn't easy. And so therefore this stuff got me through, and then it just became a career. But I do think there are little clues. I feel like life is, career certainly is like a series of breadcrumbs. Right. You just go, oh, hang on, there's other things come along now. And sometimes those things you have to be very wise about. Do I take this on board? Is this a thing that's for me?
Right.
Like vocal coaching. I was singing with Take That. There were 6 of us singing on that job. I was leading along with David, leading that little small choir for a song called Pray. All I do each night is pray. And we were singing on that, and we were singing in our dressing room, and the boys from Take That one by one came into the dressing room, and they were like, can we just sit and listen to you? Wow, this is amazing. How are you getting that sound on 6 voices sound like 18 voices? How are you doing that? And we were like, oh, you just do this, you do that, da, 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 da. And the next day, Nigel Martin-Smith, their manager, came to David and I and said, would you be the vocal coaches for Take That? And, that sounds like a great opportunity. But David and I were like, I don't really want to be a coach. Right. I'm like a performer, hello.
Yeah.
I'm a front person. And so what we did was, in our attempt to kind of pacify Take That and also not lose our jobs as singers, we said, we can do coaching, but it's going to cost the same as it does for singing, knowing that they would turn us down.
Right.
Like, who would pay that? It's ridiculous. And they said yes. And then we were like, oh no, we're going to have to do that now. We don't want to be coaches. But the day we started coaching was the day our lives changed very quickly, because we realized actually this was something very special, because when you coach people, you have access to their deepest parts. Their history comes out in their voice. Right. And so what we were able to do with singing was great, but what we were able to do with coaching was so much more. And we could never have known that. And we were kind of slightly snobbily looking down on it, when actually it was the thing that led to greatness for us. It just opened doors everywhere then. Yeah. And I think also you get these moments in whatever you do in life. And I hope and pray for this for everybody, is that we get the sweet spot, that bit where you go, I love doing this. Yeah. Probably like you are right now. Yes. You're like, I've always wanted to do media stuff. Yes. I love teeth. I love people. Yeah. When I'm doing my podcast, that is like the sweet spot. Yeah.
Makes complete sense.
So similarly for me, that just started to happen at that point. And so we were mentoring and coaching people. When you are, we were in, what would I have been? I would have been 28 or something at the time. These guys were 18. And so we weren't that much older, but we felt a lot older. And, when you're 18, 19, 20 and you've got millions in the bank and you're still just as unhappy as you were before, and it hasn't made any difference, you then have to ask yourself those questions. So what will make me happy? Yes. What is life really about? And I feel like David and I are very good at just sitting in that space and letting people discover that.
That's incredible. I mean, getting, as you said, access to that deeper layer of people, and it's almost like an honor to be able to access that and be able to try to change their mindset and
Oh my gosh, yes. Because also, our stars are, generally speaking, surrounded by people that pay their wages and people that are very yes people. And so David and I, we're not harsh and horrible, but we have to be honest. Otherwise, our work isn't, it's a bit like if you said, oh, your teeth are great, and then I've got gum disease. I want to know what's going on, Exactly. So in a way, there's a level of honesty and trust that happens between you and the artist that you're working with. And also you're in their space. Yes. Quite often you're in their home first thing in the morning, and you get whatever's going on for them, their history and their circumstances. And so,
Did you find that quite difficult initially to kind of give your honest, because obviously these people are well respected, so
and they can
leaders in their
sack you.
industry. I mean, how did you was that naturally okay for you? Or because I mean, same with our patients, obviously different situation, but someone has severe gum disease and sometimes they're coming in not even knowing the severity and having to break that news to them. You've got to be so careful. But I found that the way you explain it, and then they actually appreciate it. They value, true.
I think I've really learned so much from. I'm a little bit of a, what do you call, like, cherry pick person. So, and I mean that in the best way. I watch what David does, and I think he's so good with people. He's so warm. Like, wow, I need to learn how to do that. So I feel like I've learned as I've got older some of those skills and gifts that perhaps I was probably a bit more abrasive when I was younger.
Yeah.
But I've softened as I've got older.
Amazing. So you mentioned, you work together with your husband, David Grant MBE, and both of you have got awards, BAFTA award-winning broadcasters. You're obviously vocal coaches, leadership coaches, campaigners, and you're working together on a daily basis. How do you strike that kind of work-life balance? Because I know how it is, as we were speaking before the show, I work with my husband as well. And sometimes
it's right next to you
next to me right now. So there's no getting away. So it's how do you, because you do it so beautifully, how do you strike that kind of balance? Or because some people don't even believe in a work-life balance. Is it just a lifestyle, or is it, how do you make that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think with the leadership coaching, one of the things that we've learned is that back in the day, going back 25 years when we started doing leadership coaching, a hero leader was the type of leader that people wanted. Right. So it was a charismatic, great speaker, all that energy in the room. They had all of that charisma and intelligence in academia. And also they could never say that they didn't know something. They had to know the answer to everything. So it's huge pressure on leaders. And then there was a real status jump between that hero leader and then the minions of the team. Okay. Whereas what has happened over the last sort of couple of decades is emotional intelligence has taken a much bigger role in leadership. And there has been a move towards asset-based leadership. Okay. So asset-based leadership is, I don't know how to, let's just say I'm not great with people, but I'm really good at organizing. Okay. David is really dreadful at organizing things, but great with people. Right. So in some ways that partnership really works. It doesn't mean that one dominates then, because you don't need, the hero leader is unnecessary. You can be a really shy leader. I mean, that's what I love about leadership is you're enough. Yes. Whoever you are enough. You don't have to try to be like these iconic people. That leadership doesn't work like that anymore. And we can have a much broader view and a much more team view and a much more asset-based view. And so for both David and I, the way that we work is that we're kind of like seers. We're like, what's this person got in them? And we're like that with one another. What have you got in you today that I need, that I just don't have? And it's okay for me not to have, because you've got that bit. So we really rely on each other. And I think that's why our partnership works, because first of all, we know our basic strengths and weaknesses, but then we are very attuned to one another's daily kind of, I can sense that you're struggling. So I will just up my game a bit today. And that there's a kind of natural flow to that. Yes. And then there are just days where he irritates me and annoys me, and I'm like, for goodness sake, why do I have to work with you? Yes. So that also happens. Just all the normal kind of yeah. Oh yeah. What about do you ever switch off? when you go home? Is it constantly, because it's hard to not talk about work as such? Yeah. How do you have a boundary, or are you just kind of just with the flow? I mean, I love work, and we talk about work because it's just so exciting. Yeah. I love every day that I work. Yes. I love this. I love all of it. But I have a much bigger hinterland than my work. So my life outside my work is huge. Right. And even though it seems like I'm doing a lot with my work, I'm writing books and I'm still out there public speaking and teaching and coaching and presenting, all of that ticks away. But that is a tiny slither of my life. My life outside of all of this is super exciting and wonderful. And my house is like a community center. And I love that. Wow. And so that's a big part. I go home and, before lockdown, not so much these days, it's probably gone down a bit. But I remember thinking for years before lockdown, 100 people will come through my house in a week. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. Gosh. Support groups, all kinds of stuff going on in my house, which I love.
Amazing. That's incredible. So inspiring. And on the note of inspiration, I mean, you work with some of the leading artists globally, but what inspires you? Because you're so driven, so enthusiastic. What keeps you going? Do you have a mentor? What do you,
Good
certain books you
question.
read, or what's your inspiration?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think finding mentors is such an important thing, and I have people that I look to that I don't know, and I think, oh, I like what they're about. I want to be more like that.
Right.
And I also have friends who I think are very valuable people that I'm accountable to. I think being accountable to people is a really good thing, as long as it doesn't lead to controlling people.
Yeah.
I think it's trusting the right people. I think one of the things I love to do, and I always recommend doing, is to write a letter to yourself, a letter-headed paper, like on proper nice note paper. Have it typed out, and it's, Dear Carrie, mine would say, Dear Carrie, I am making a commitment to myself to only listen to these 5 people. With the really big stuff, these 5 people on my list. And then I write 5 people, might only be 3 actually. And then I sign it. And it's a contract with me to make that agreement with myself that these are my 3 to 5 people. That means that if someone throws you a curveball and says, I really don't like the way you do that, and why you like this, and da 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 da,
Yes.
I can just go, in my head, I'm like, hang on a minute, I don't see you on my list. And I made a contract to only listen to these people, right?
Yeah.
So when the haters come along, you can kind of deal with that.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't have that many haters, but
Sure.
they're out there.
Yeah, for sure.
And so just concentrating on those people who you know are for you and who you can trust and who will call you out.
Yeah.
That to me is a really big thing. And for me, and also my faith is a massive driving force. Last year I started training for ordination, and I'm doing my MA in theology, and it's terrifying, and I feel like I'm completely lost at times going back to study after I don't know how many years, 40 years of not studying, but that's a big driving force for me. Yeah,
I love that, having a contract with yourself, and in times, because it's those times where you start questioning things, but if you've got it written down, signed paper,
like hang about,
and having, it's just those few people. You don't need, I find, obviously I'm at the start of my career, but you don't need to have 50 million friends, and you just need a few close people who you can rely on. I think it's made a huge difference.
And you have a lovely way with people. You are such a people person. You feel like you have all of the authority that you have, but there's a gentleness to you as well, which, what a lovely combination that is.
That's so kind. Thank you.
And those gifts, and as you get older, you're going to find new places for those gifts. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, it took me ages to realize that older leaders, like when I first started in leadership, it was all white men in their 50s. And then when I became a parent, I realized, oh my gosh, even these guys need parenting. Not that I want to go out and be mother of the world, but there is still that sense of nurture that people need. They're still just human beings going, am I doing all right?
Yes.
And am I doing all right is almost every human I know that I've met.
100%.
However famous, however rich, however successful, there's still that sense of, is it okay? Am I all right? And that's that when you've got those gifts, like I have those gifts, it's like, oh, I'm usable in this space.
Yeah. Making the most of every opportunity, for sure. So the kind of online world has really changed, I guess, from the start of your career to where you are now with digitalization. Everyone wants that kind of instant access to things. From kind of what you do in terms of social media, things like Instagram and things like that, do you feel that's helped your career in terms of communicating things? What's your opinion on that?
That is such a good question. And it's a question that makes me feel slightly guilty because I don't do enough. And I should do more. I think one of the ways that I have seen social media really help me personally is that it's given me support. I have 4 neurodivergent children, and meeting other families and parents and people who are autistic and or have ADHD, or I've got an adopted child. My children have got dyslexia, dyscalculia. They've got all the disses, So there's a lot going on, and meeting those communities has been amazing. The other thing that happens within those communities is that you can create groundswell. So then the campaigning work that I do is just fantastic. I remember a couple of years ago putting out a tweet about Children's and Adolescent Mental Health Service. it trended for like 2 days and had millions of kind of interactions within it. And I was thinking, this is so good that one, our community are feeling like they're being heard. And two, I think it can affect change. I think it does shift things bit by bit by bit. It's a great platform for making change. So I think it's great for support and for change.
Yeah. No, completely agree. I think social media isn't for everyone, but there are so many useful things you can do with it if used in the right way.
You're right, and I think it's curating it
exactly.
As
it's
well.
Almost like a full-time job, like trying to curate your social media. And I mean, for sure. People always ask me, younger dentists always ask me, dentists have these kind of less glamorous profiles with lots of before and afters of teeth and stuff. And some young dentists just don't want to do it, but some of them feel pressurized that maybe my before and afters aren't as good as someone else's. So it can be, you've got to use it in the right way. You've got to use it as inspiration,
my gosh,
I guess.
I hadn't even thought about that. So like there's a dentist version.
There is a dentist version, which
body
is
shaming.
Basically.
Before and after shaming.
No, it's great for patients to see before and after, but so both Dave and you have got several Lifetime Service Awards, which is so inspirational, and you've achieved so much so far in your career. But if you kind of had to give your younger self any advice, or if you had, would you have done anything differently? What would you say to that?
That's, oh my gosh, I feel like I could talk for hours on that. Yeah, there's so much I'd like to tell my younger self. I think I've learned a lot from choices that I made, but I think the choices that I made, I don't know, I feel like things kind of worked out okay in the end. And I feel that's good. Maybe I didn't trust that they would work out okay in the end. So if I'd have known that, I would have been a bit more chilled in my 20s.
Yeah.
I think there are things, but all the things I've learned, I feel like they was really valuable. Maybe actually, probably the biggest thing for me is that I've had a lifetime struggle with being a people pleaser. And I had never put people pleasing and my intense gift of empathy in the same box. I thought they were two separate things. Because I'm really empathetic and I feel the room and I pick up on people's moods like massively. I really care for people. So I'm good at that stuff. And then if someone criticizes me, I'm really sensitive. And about 10 years ago, I realized actually, perhaps I can't have one without the other. And I'm going to stop focusing. And, if you think about prayer, I'd be praying, God, just make me less of a people pleaser. Please, can you just sort this stupid part of me out? Can I just grow up, please? And I kind of felt like God said to me, do you know what? Just chill out. Stop focusing on it. You are who you are. You are sensitive. It makes you empathetic. It makes you a great coach.
Yeah.
And that's the price you're having to pay the other side. So now I've kind of settled that score within myself that rather than trying to change that, I am going to be sensitive because it's just who I am. Yeah. And I feel like for the last 10 years, that's been so much easier. And I'm glad it happened in those 10 years because social media would have killed me 10 years ago if I hadn't started to think along those lines of not worrying so much. I do still worry, but I don't worry that I stopped worrying about worrying.
Yes.
Put it that way.
Yes, I love that. I guess it's being aware of those characteristics and making them, valuable rather than, knocking yourself down from, because some things are inbuilt and you can't change them.
And some things do change. Loads has changed. I've become much gentler and much this and much more that, and all of that's great. But that bit hasn't changed. And maybe it never will. But if I spend 24 hours a day worrying about it, like what a waste of a life.
Yeah. No, makes sense for sure. So you work both in TV and radio, especially live broadcasting. And I know we did a show segment together as well. Yeah. But there must be like lots of sort of outtakes that happen.
Hundreds.
What are your kind of tell us a few, which or one that kind of stands out?
Oh my gosh, I've got one that's so awful, so embarrassing.
Tell us more.
So this was during the Fame Academy years in the early 2000s. I went to do a TV show, a chat show. And I was a guest, and I went into the green room, which is where all the artists hang out. And there's like all these famous people, and all the famous people all kind of hanging together. And there's this one woman just sitting on her own. And I'm like, hello, no, I'm not sitting with the famous people. Who's this woman? Like, what? I'm like, hello, who are you? And she's like, hi. There's me being super friendly. Yeah. And so I say to her, so what are you on the show for? And she says, I think she says, I'm a world champion ice skater.
Right.
But I get that information from about 3 or 4 pardons, sorry. You know when you don't hear someone properly? And I just kept saying pardon, sorry. And in the end, I got too embarrassed. I was like, I can't keep saying. So I think that she said, I was a world champion ice skater. So I look at her and I'm beaming and I go, that is fantastic. Wow.
Right.
I then go on the show and I do my bit. Next up, this lady goes on the show and the presenter says, and now my next guest, the only survivor of Fred and Rosemary West. And she had said, I survived. And somewhere in the I survived, so some horrendous life, I had heard in stupid Carrie Grant world, I'm a world champion ice skater. So I was saying, fantastic, well done, smiling away. She did look at me rather weirdly, like that's a strange reaction. But that's one of, and I have a few of those where I mishear people. And then I react completely the wrong way.
Oh, gosh.
Social awkwardness.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, gosh. So you mentioned, obviously, along your career path, there's been things that you wouldn't have changed, but you've learned from them. But what about like just challenges that people starting out in their career, they have to be ready for if they want to go down a similar sort of route? Obviously, yours is quite unique in terms of where you are now, but people who are interested in media and that type of thing, what would be your advice to them in terms of starting out?
I think there's a lot to that. I think that you have to hone your craft. I think there's too many people that think I could just busk my way through.
Right.
And busking your way through, of course there are artists that we can all go, they never had a singing lesson in their life, or they never went to college and they never did this. And I'm one of those people. I never did that. Sure. But once I learned that actually learning is wonderful, from about the age of 20, I was learning nonstop. And I think that preparing yourself for the industry, making sure that you're ready, you don't have to rush that bit. You can take your time with that. Right. And also having an open mind to learning and growing your whole life. Like David my husband tomorrow, is going into Radio London to learn to drive the desk, right. Which I already do. But when we're doing our show, I drive the desk and he thinks I'm a genius. I'm really not, but it's just he doesn't know how to do it. So he's got to learn that, and he's in his 60s. So he's like, oh my gosh, I'm not technical. How am I ever going to get that? But you never stop learning. Yeah. So every show that you do, you're learning. I'm learning how to allow myself to make mistakes on air, even things like that. I'd be like, oh, that's a really bad show because I fluffed my words. Whereas actually, do you know what? Normal life has fluffed words in, so that's okay. Right. And I think so. The commitment to a lifelong journey of learning, I think, is a really important thing. I think if you are not someone who's great with people and you're walking into a career that demands that you hang out with people and socialize, and you're really good in that way, then I think it's about finding the team around you. Right. If that's not your gift, like David's gift is not. David could be making the best music in the world, but back in the day, he wouldn't have been able to put a cassette tape into an envelope and put it in a letterbox, even though the letterbox was outside his house, because he just doesn't, his brain doesn't work that way. Yeah. But he's great with relationships. Yeah. So he just met with people and were like, could you help me? And daring to ask. That's the other thing. Yeah. You just go up to people and go, can you ask me? Can you help me? And they would go, yeah, sure. How daring of you to ask. Okay, I will. Whereas I wouldn't have that courage. Right. So surrounding yourself with the team of people that works for you and asking. I've always asked people, can I just have 10 minutes of your time? Right. Do you mind? Can I just take you for a coffee? I'm not asking you to do anything to give me a job. Yes. But I'm just asking for 10 minutes of advice. That does two things. First up, you are then in the sight line of that person, right. Which means in 6 months' time when they're thinking about, we need a presenter who's got a music business background. Oh, do you know who I had coffee with 6 months ago? That person. Yes. So it's good for that. And I think it's also, what was the other reason? This is the problem with being in my 50s. I can't remember the other reason. But I think there are so many things that you can get from just asking for help, and people don't ask for help. So that's that. And also going, you don't have to go cap in hand. If I have a meeting with you, you've got something to offer me. I've got something to offer you. I think there's all relationships are equal. So there's always something. You don't have to go in like, oh, I'm really sorry for asking. Yes. Just ask. Be confident. What's the worst thing that can happen? They say no. Yeah. Yeah. I remember asking my boss at the One Show, would you put me forward for Strictly? And he laughed at me and he went, you. And I was like, yeah. And he said, no. And I walked out and I just thought, I feel so embarrassed. But I thought, I'm glad I asked, because I might have said yes. And there's other situations where people have said yes.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You know, you don't get anything unless you ask.
Yeah, no, really sound advice. So keep learning, no matter how, far you are in your career, having the right team to surround you and help you, and asking for help. You never know what they'll say. So no, and I'm truly grateful for you saying yes to coming on this podcast. So thank you so much. It's a real honor to have you here. Have you got any exciting projects coming up? Where can the listeners follow you?
I'm so excited about the next thing that David and I are doing. We have a book that is coming out.
Congratulations.
Very,
Amazing.
very exciting. It's called A Very Modern Family.
Okay.
And
when's it due to be released? May. Oh, soon. Okay. And, so we'll definitely have to get that.
Yeah.
Well,
other people are excited about it, and that's made me excited about it.
I'm definitely excited.
I was already excited.
I will definitely be reading that for sure. Well, thank you so much. What a great conversation. So inspiring, so much to learn from you, and so grateful for your time. So I'm sure we'll see you again soon. Thanks again, Carrie.